This is the history of hunger. Humanity demonstrates a consistent pattern of using starvation as a political weapon of killing against innocent civilians. The Ukraine Holodomor. Joseph Stalin had gained control of the Soviet Union in 1924, and by 1928 he had devised a 5-year plan to conduct the agricultural collectivization of the Ukraine. By 1933, at the height of the famine, Ukrainian people were dying at a rate of 30,000 a day, the majority being children under the age of 10. Between the years of 1932 and 1933, Stalin successfully used food as a weapon to starve to death 4 million people inside the borders of Soviet Ukraine. The deliberate starvation of the minority Ukrainian people and attempts to industrialize the Soviet Union represent how political leadership strategized to use food as a weapon to intentionally inflict genocide onto a population. Germany, World War II. Adolf Hitler led Germany to war from 1939 to 1946. He did this through the alienation of different groups, which he caused them to suffer while he ultimately gained control. He did this through the spread of starvation both in Leningrad and the Warsaw Ghetto. On the morning of June 22, 1941, Germany invaded Stalin's Soviet Union to start the siege of Leningrad. The Army Group North created a blockade around the city of 3 million. By the 27th of January 1944, the blockade was lifted and 1 million had perished due to starvation as a result of Hitler's strategy to induce surrender through food deprivation. Warsaw, Poland is known as the site of one of the largest constructed ghettos during World War II. Those who were held captive in Warsaw were allowed a ration of 181 calories per day, a dramatic difference from the rations given to German soldiers. On average, 3,882 people were killed from starvation per month between January 1941 and May 1942. Though this analysis only includes 2 of the many events that occurred during Hitler's rule, they illuminate the strength of how one's ideas can influence the destruction of societies. China, the Great Famine. Mao Zedong had traveled across China and reached the conclusion that with an increased focus on industrials and agriculture, China's economy could compete on a global scale. What had begun as an idea to alleviate China from poverty turned into one of the world's worst man-made famines known today, and ironically, it was given the name the Great Leap Forward. It was evident that the Great Leap Forward was a failure by the end of 1959. The government's actions of mass mobilization of labor, false production yields, and poor harvests caused between 20 and 30 million people to die from starvation and diseases related to starvation between 1959 and 1962. Mao's inhumane attempts to industrialize and revolutionize China killed roughly a total of 75 million people, yet he is still remembered as a savior of the nation. North Korea, the Arduous March. So what exactly happened? The fractured economy, the poor farming production, and the floods left North Korea's government with 2 choices: accept food aid or ration the little that they had. And of course, Kim Il-sung chose the latter, launching a campaign in 1991 of let's eat 2 meals a day. The military and elite first policies have left many of North Korean civilians susceptible to starvation and malnutrition since the beginning of the Kim regime. Somalia. The drought started in 2010, and it was the worst it had been in the past 60 years on the Horn of Africa, killing livestock, farm production, and income for many families. And this was just the beginning. As aid began to fluctuate into the communities, it was hindered by an al-Qaeda-linked Islamist group, al-Shabaab. As the supply reduced, the cost for food stamps soared, limiting civilian access. Civil war in Somalia that had persisted for the last 20 years created a lawless nation. 250,000 people died as a result, half of them being children, during this 2-year time span. Yet many remain in severe crises in the face of drought, floods, and along with the al-Shabaab guerrillas controlling and conflicting much of the country. Hunger today. The media may shape the rhetoric around how hungry people are living in poverty or experience major natural disasters in areas where much of the population is malnourished or starving. The truth may not illuminate